Chapter 8 of The Haunted Island by E.H. Visiak. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Ben Tucker. Chapter 8 Thalass. Coming forth upon the poop, I desponded in my mind, thinking of home and England, and the sea, with all the beauty of its clear and flashing blue waters, was hateful to me. Yea, it cruelly smiled on me with its shining face. For I suffered loneliness, such loneliness as exiles know, than which to sensible men there is not on the earth a more cruel affliction. Here indeed, on this populous king's ship, of which my very brother was in command, I did find myself alone with a desolation very far greater than solitude of place. Doubtless, there was something of God in the villainous men, deep in the hearts of them, as there is something of God in all things, and the rest, to speak truly, is but distortion and shadow and absence and darkness. But I did not understand it so, and looked but on the appearance, loathing them for their villainous demeanor and filthy discourse. A woeful suffering it was, a stifling of the heart, a hand upon the brain, goading it to madness, an upheaval of the deeps, breaking up the standing surface mold. But amid the stress of it all, and as with a flash of seismic fire, there was made to me a revelation. All loneliness and loss were delusions, for the hearts of all are knit together in the heart of God. So the affliction departed from me, and I came to myself. Yet it left me sore distraught, so that I shook with cold like one in an ague, and I made to go to the galley where was a fire. I descended the weather ladder, but coming under the break of the poop, I caught a curious sound of singing that proceeded from within the alleyway. I passed in, and the sound led me towards the master's cabin. Therein I beheld the Mosquito Indian. He was alone with the dead Englishman, pacing up and down before the body, and ever as he went, he kept crooning and chanting wild music, and swayed his body from side to side, and moved his hands and arms in strange mystic passes and convolutions. Wild and inarticulate was the dirge, and the motions, I doubt not, were but the ceremonies of a savage fetish, but I watched, and hearkened entranced. How much of what followed is accountable to the woeful strain that recent trials, and especially that last great trial, had put upon me, I know not, but I think that there was nothing earthly in that chant, or rune, whatever it was, nothing of human artifice, and that it proceeded from the occult heart of things. I saw a vision of a boundless expanse, the heavens loaden with masses of cloud ebon black, the firmament illumined with a spectral light, and beneath it all, the deep. That was black as the clouds above, and surging in billows, though without foam, so stupendous that the tops of them might not be descried, and sweeping together with a shock and tumult such as no man could imagine. But that which held my gaze, yea, and nigh unseated my reason, was the thing, whether brute or demon, that seemed to be the sole denizen of the waters, swimming and wallowing there. Merciful God, may I never look upon the like of it again. Slowly the mood and measure of the singing changed, and now I beheld other scenes, and other images, which concerned the mid-period of things. Again the measure changed, and now indeed I saw godlike forms, and godlike deeds, and there appeared before me, but oh, how transfigured, how glorified, the similitudes of those whom I had known and loved. My mother, who was dead, my friends and playmates as a child, and my father, the squire. They smiled on me, and so near they seemed that I stretched forth my hand to have touched them, and would have spoken to them, when, lo, they were gone. The Mosquito Indian had ceased from his singing, and stood silent and motionless, with bowed head. I sprang to my feet. "Now what manner of man are you?" cried I. "What was it that you sang?" But he turned, and looked on me so friendly, and yet withal so manly, grave and majestic, that I was drawn to him. He saluted me, Solemnly we shook hands in testimony of friendship, a friendship that endured to the end. Yea, to the end. The Mosquito Indian was sufficiently acquainted with the English tongue, though he did patter it but queerly. He told me the name he went by amongst the English, and was very proud of it, knowing no better, for 'twas but a ridiculous name, given him by some buffoon, so I called him Thalassios, afterwards shortened to Thalass, because it was a high-sounding word to please him, and because he had been taken up from the sea. Soon after came 2 seamen to bear away the dead body of the Englishman. I followed them forth to where my brother stood awaiting them under the break of the poop. He immediately bade them to throw the body into the sea. On this, however, the boatswain, who stood near putting off his cap to the captain, begged leave to ask whether he would not give the body a volley for ceremony, or at any rate cause it to be sewn up in a sheet or an old topsail, and a weight fastened to it to sink it in the sea. "For," said he, "if you throw him in as he be, I doubt he'll rise and haunt his cabin." But the captain, being in a very ill temper, took this in dudgeon, and roughly bid the boatswain to keep his tongue quiet, and the mariners to act their part without more ado. This they did, albeit but unwillingly for what the boatswain had said about the spirit haunting the ship. And as the body splashed into the sea, they looked one on another very glumly, and after the captain's back was turned, they began to murmur against him, saying he had put a curse upon them, and that henceforward we should meet with no luck in our voyage, and that in all likelihood the ship would be quite lost. Towards evening the wind freshened very much, so that they said evil already began to fall upon us. But on this coming to my brother's ears, he went and spoke to them, and appeased their minds, for he showed them that the wind was favorable to our course, and that it did but speed them the faster to the island whither they were bound, and where they would all make their fortunes. When dark came, we had a great rippling sea, and a high wind, which sometimes came in pushes, forcing us to hand our topsails often. It increased to a gale, and came so furious at last that we scudded under a mainsail. This gave the men work enough all night. End of chapter 8.